In June of 2016, Omar Mateen killed 49 people and injured 53 others during a nightclub shooting in Orlando. In November 2017, Devin Patrick Kelly massacred 26 people and injured 20 at a small church in Sutherland Springs, Texas. Also in 2017, a lone gunman shot and killed 58 and injured over 500 innocent spectators at an outdoor concert in Las Vegas. And in 2 different incidents in 2018, student shooters took a total of 27 lives at Parkland High School in Florida and Santa Fe High School in Texas. In the aftermath of horrible violence, we're left wondering, where's the missing element of prevention that might have averted these attacks in the first place? What if we could actually identify mass shooters before they act? I'm Pete Van Beek, president of Van Beek Security Consulting, and I can answer those questions. You see, I've discovered one constant during my 30 years in corporate safety and security, and it's this. When it comes to keeping violence out of workplaces and schools, nothing is more important than an organization's violence prevention program. A system of policies, procedures, and training on how to identify emerging aggressive behavior and how to intervene to stop violent acts from occurring. If you're like other leaders I've met, you may be concerned about whether your organization is doing enough to protect your employees, patients, parishioners, or students from extreme violence. Maybe you have some programs in place, but wonder what additional steps you could take to lower the risk of a violent attack. Perhaps you've searched for resources on how to prevent workplace violence and come up short. Then there are the regulatory issues to consider. Do you know how the OSHA workplace safety rules apply to your organization and whether you're in compliance? I hear questions like this often. I struggled with the same issues myself while serving as Vice President of Safety and Security at 2 major corporations. And that's why I've dedicated myself to researching workplace violence issues, along with evaluating the effectiveness of many of the solutions being offered today. I've learned some interesting things. First of all, our concerns are well placed. Mass shootings have tripled over the past 4 years, and workplace homicides have increased by 50% or more. As we look at mass shootings over the last 25 years, we can see a disturbing trend in both frequency and severity of these events. Notice that from 1991 to 2009, 81 people died in mass shootings. From 2011 to 2018, 281 people were killed in such incidents. And the number of injuries also increased by more than 900% between the 2 time periods. Of course, shootings aren't the only form of violence we worry about. Employers also deal with robbery and theft, destruction of company property, assault, harassment, and threats. Each year, more than 2 million cases of workplace violence are reported, costing businesses more than $100 billion annually. That's the reality we face today. So the logical question is, what are we doing to stop mass shootings and other forms of workplace violence? My research found a variety of what I call reaction-based solutions. These include cameras, monitoring technology, emergency notification systems, panic alarms, metal detectors, increased police presence, single points of entry, and arming teachers and employees. And while any of these tactics may have a place in your overall plan, none of them help you identify potentially violent aggressors or prevent them from getting into your organization. Another approach to workplace violence is active shooter training, including the run, hide, fight methodology promoted by many government agencies. That too is reaction-based. But what if we could prevent most violent attacks from ever happening in the first place? What if we could actually identify potential killers and stop them before they commit mass murder? The truth is we can. You see, most workplace violence programs lack the crucial elements that actually make organizations safer. When we put these missing elements into a comprehensive workplace violence prevention program, we reduce risk, and we make people safer and property less vulnerable. My preventive approach is supported by the latest research, including an FBI study released in June of 2018. It found that many active shooters signaled their intentions in the weeks and months leading up to a violent attack. This means we can prevent violence by learning to recognize the warning signs of emerging aggression, and then take the right action to stop the escalation to violence. And that's the core of my workplace violence prevention and intervention program. It's unique, comprehensive, evidence-based, and extremely effective. And it can be adopted for any business, school, church, or healthcare facility. My program encompasses the 4 elements of a safer workplace: violence prevention, identifying emerging aggression, intervention, and threat management. Let me show you how it works. The program has 4 components. First, we conduct a thorough threat and vulnerability assessment of your organization. Next, we provide violence prevention and emergency response training for all employees. Third, we work with you to create and train a threat assessment team. And finally, we help you develop a crisis management team. During the first step, a threat and vulnerability assessment, my team and I work closely with your staff to identify possible threats and vulnerabilities that could affect your workplace. We then assess the survey findings and help you remediate any gaps, such as developing any missing policies and procedures. The training element of my program gives your employees the knowledge and skills they need to identify emerging aggression and take proper action. Training enables employees to recognize someone who may be a low-level aggressor and properly intervene to stop them from progressing to active violence. Employees are thus equipped to become the front line of violence prevention in your workplace. The training also covers effective response options in case employees are ever faced with a shooting or other form of extreme violence at work. We offer this training both on-site and online with the same effective high-quality content. Creating and training a threat assessment team is a third element of the program. We work with you to develop a team that will be responsible for evaluating and tracking any threats that come into your organization, as well as threats from the outside. We'll provide team members with the tools and knowledge to assess threats and determine the best course of intervention for each one. Finally, we help you establish, train, and maintain a crisis management team. This team plays a critical role in emergencies, carrying out the organization's continuity of operations plan. The team will also be prepared to interface with law enforcement, the news media, employees, and families. Now let's get to the bottom line. What can you expect if your organization adopts this program? First, you'll achieve a safer and more secure workplace. You'll greatly reduce the likelihood of a mass shooting or other form of extreme violence. You'll also see a decrease in the frequency of violent incidents. And your organization will lower the cost of dealing with workplace violence. Now I'd like to answer some of the questions I hear most often when I'm visiting organizations. Why do violent events happen in the workplace? Most organizations haven't conducted a thorough assessment of their threats and vulnerabilities, so they don't really know where they're exposed or where threats may come from. Secondly, employees generally aren't trained to identify or report the signs of emerging aggression. Without this early warning, organizations have no way to intervene and prevent possible violence. That sounds like profiling. Absolutely not. My program focuses on behavior alone. Race, religion, background, and even motivation do not matter. I don't think my organization is required to have a workplace violence prevention and intervention program. That may be true. When you think about it though, violence could happen at any business, school, hospital, or church. And if there is an investigation into a violent incident at your organization, OSHA can investigate and possibly issue a citation. Is your program what they call active shooter training? Our approach goes beyond that. It's far more comprehensive, and we focus on prevention first. Of course, we do teach effective options for responding to violence. But the emphasis is on how to prevent these kind of incidents from ever happening in the first place. What are the options for training our employees? We have 3 options. One is live classroom training at your location. For classroom training, you should allow a half day and up to 20 attendees per session. Our trainers can conduct 2 sessions, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. If your organization has fewer than 20 attendees, you might consider hosting a training event and inviting others from the community. A third option is our online course. It includes the same content as the classroom training and is available 24/7. Employees can work at their own pace from any computer and log in and out as many times as necessary. And after successfully completing the program, employees can print their certificate of completion. Then after all your current employees have been trained, the online option is a great solution for new hires and annual refresher training. Can you provide your services at multiple locations? Our license and registration allow us to provide services anywhere in the United States, and we can also travel internationally. Can we purchase a part of your program as a standalone element? For example, just the training. Yes, although I believe that all 4 elements are necessary to fully protect your organization and employees. Let's say we train your employees, and they begin to report behaviors that concern them. Unless you have put your threat assessment team in place, you may not have an effective mechanism for analyzing these reports and taking the appropriate action. We're a small company. We may not have the budget for a program like this. My program is flexible, and I can work with organizations of any size to build a proposal based on your budget and needs. What exactly should I expect if we engage your services? We'll start with a threat and vulnerability survey. That's always the first step. When it's complete, I'll provide you with an assessment that gives you a clear picture of your organization's vulnerabilities. We can then work with you to remediate any gaps we've discovered, such as missing policies or physical security issues. The next step is to conduct training. We train employees on aggression management, intervention, and response options. We also train your threat assessment team. And finally, we train the crisis management team. At the end of this process, your organization will have in place all 4 elements that make workplaces safer. If you're ready to explore a different and effective approach to the problem of workplace violence, contact me for a free consultation. We do not have to accept violence as the norm. We do not have to live in fear of the next mass killing. And sadly, run, hide, fight, and other response-based exercises are simply not enough. Let me help you build a preventive plan to keep your organization safer and more secure.